Hello, guess who, brother teacher? Today I would like to touch on an individual that I have here more in recent months grown to have a great deal of respect for, who uh, supports uh, one of my uh, beliefs as far as Bruce Lee is concerned. Now I'm trying to find a way to try and articulate this message. But I'll just go ahead and do how I normally do. I'll just shoot straight from the hip as it relates to this subject. Now, first of all, let me say this. Um, I believe that most of us who have been influenced by anyone in our personal lives give credence and or respect and honor, maybe even tribute to those individuals at some point or even several points throughout our lives as to how those individuals affected us in a positive way, such as your mother and father, maybe your auntie or uncle, or your grandparents, someone that may have raised you or that were very instrumental in your lives as far as your development and growth as a person, as a human being, an adult even, may have even helped you in a possible career. So it's no different when you hear me talk about Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee influenced me, and I'm not the only one. I'm just the individual on this particular platform that you hear espousing the greatness of a man that had affected me. Now, he's not the only one. Believe that. He's not the only individual that has uh, left an indelible mark in my life that has helped propel me to a certain plateau, if you will. And I'm not talking about economically, I'm just saying, even from a spiritual standpoint. My mother was very instrumental in my life. My grandmother, some of my older aunts, and even my brother, who's gone now, and even various other people in business, such as Andrew Carnegie, who's no longer here, of course. He influenced me. Napoleon Hill influenced me. Dan Locke, the entrepreneur, the billionaire, he influenced me. Uh, it's been a manifold list of people. Too many for me to name. There just simply been too many people in my life, and they cross all spectrums in life that have influenced me. But in this particular segment, I want you to listen to me. I want to borrow your ear just for a moment as I might express my thoughts and or feelings as it relates to this topic. Now, there's a karate guy who appeared in a couple of movies with the late great Bruce Lee, who I'm really referring to now as Bob Wall. Now, I met Bob probably back in the early 2000s, 2005 or 6 at the Arnold Classic in Columbus, Ohio. Very cordial guy, very polite. Took a picture or two with him, and I don't know him personally, but I had heard individuals talk about his relationship with Bruce Lee. That you know he didn't really give Bruce Lee very much credit for Bruce Lee's ability. Now I've seen a video where Bob Wall and Joe Louis were analyzing a scene or a couple of scenes where Bruce Lee was sparring with Bob Wall, and Joe Louis at the time made a statement or two that Bruce Lee had to be in the positions because of who he was to look good. He couldn't be defeated basically by a karate guy. You know, that's neither here nor there. If any of you all have that video, you know, by all means go back and refer to it. I don't have it available at this present, but I do have it in my archives. So what I'm getting at is this. One of the earlier videos that I did a few years ago, and it's that old now, about Chuck Norris, the karate fighter and instructor and even movie star, television star, not respecting Bruce Lee. Now, I'm not trying to beat a dead horse. I'm just going to cut straight to the point. And in that video that I did, I got a lot of backlash from Chuck Norris and other karate people fans, if you will, Chuck Norris fans and karate people in general, saying that Bruce Lee was not a fighter, Chuck Norris was a fighter. You know, he was a world champion and so forth. And my response to that basically is, you know, you're full contact, which he's not. But I've heard people tout that he was a full contact champion as well as a sport karate guy. No, he wasn't. Chuck Norris never did full contact. So what I'm actually saying is this, that Chuck Norris was in several interviews, Arsenio Hall and some other talk show hosts, where he was asked the question, did Bruce Lee and him ever mix it up or ever get into a real heated fight or sparring session? And then he made one statement to one interviewer or celebrity host that I didn't want to go there and Bruce didn't want to go there. But I believe it was in the reverse. Bruce didn't want to go there and I didn't want to go there. As if he was equal to Bruce Lee in skill. And he was not. Just point blank, he was not. And if we're honest with ourselves, we all know that Chuck Norris did not compare to Bruce Lee's skill. Nowhere near him. He was not even in the stratosphere. He was nowhere near his skill level. So I do give Chuck Norris credit for his accomplishments in his films. There was a few of them that I really enjoyed. The Octagon was one with Tadashi Yamashita, who's one of my favorite actors. Another movie that he played in was Sidekicks. I enjoyed that and the plot and so forth. But Chuck Norris, the body of work that he had done in movies basically were not that good in the early part, like Good Guys Wear Black and Breaker Breaker and so forth. But anyway, Walker Texas Ranger later on came, and then that was his crowning glory, if you will. And I enjoyed Walker Texas Ranger. But anyway, getting back to the interviews that Chuck Norris did, every time someone asked him about Bruce Lee's skill versus his own, he said always that I was the champion at the time. Okay, so what did that mean? Why was it so difficult, and why has it been so difficult after these decades passed for Chuck Norris to give Bruce Lee his proper due as a great martial artist? And that is what brings me to this video. Bob Wall, who played in Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee as Ohara, the character, and who also played in Return of the Dragon as Chuck Norris's student, he gave Bruce Lee the credit that Bruce Lee so rightfully deserved. And I wanted to honor him in this video today, Bob Wall, and just give him hats off and say that I really, really respect Bob Wall, because Bob Wall did what Chuck Norris didn't do and should have done. Give Bruce Lee the credit that Bruce Lee deserved. Bob Wall spoke of how great Bruce Lee was as an artist, as a martial artist, as a filmmaker, how he was an expert in every aspect of what he did. And Chuck Norris had never done that. Why did it take another man who grew up basically around Chuck Norris in the karate arena? Why did it take this man to give Bruce Lee credit and Chuck Norris couldn't do it? And to this very day, he still has not given Bruce Lee the proper credit that he deserves. Joe Louis finally did it. God rest his soul. He was a great fighter. He was a better fighter than Chuck Norris, as a matter of fact. And Bob Wall has done it. I'm going to leave the video clip at the bottom of this video here so that you can see how well he spoke of Bruce Lee. And I do believe that he really had an admiration and a love for Bruce Lee. Contrary to popular belief, how some people think that maybe he didn't, he did and he does. You know how you just have a feeling when you hear someone speak their soul? I felt that genuine sentiment come from Bob Wall as related to the late great Bruce Lee. And I love Bob Wall very much. I love Chuck Norris as well, but Bob Wall gave Bruce Lee his proper due. What's wrong with Chuck Norris? I'm out.